My goodness, we are away, ladies and gentlemen. Are we away? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. I had to have a couple of days off. I was stewing in the heat. I was stewing as Bibi burnt the tents, burnt the flesh. Any day now, Bibi Milikowski, Mr. Netanyahu, Senor Netanyahu, will be arrested by the International Criminal Court and dragged to The Hague. Well, that'd be funny because they're all full of Jews up there, noble Jews, and we're going to go into the long history of Europe, the nobles, how the world really works, and how Bibi Milikowski will be given Netanyahu and associates. He will never face justice. And apparently John Mearsheimer has been tagged to be the good Jew to follow around the bad Jew and waggle a finger, baby. You know, one day I'm going to get Blender and a few creative skills happening in Blender and render my own cartoon characters, because I think this comedy's gone on long enough. We're going to talk about how the world really works. We're going to talk about Steve Bannon on fire. It's been a while, Steve, since you said City of London. This guy in this, how long is it, 1 hour interview is on fire. He's so infuriating. He says so many good things. He goes far beyond what anyone at his level goes. Then he stops short. And just stops. And it's really annoying. And you hang with some very dodgy people, Steve, and you're a drunk. You look like shit. Your war room, you're drunk most of the time. You were dragged off Miles Gaujo's doing coke and hookers and to slap you around the head, to wake up to yourself. Get your shit together, Pisces boy. All right? We're going to sing your praises here. Let's have a bit more Bibi Milikowski face slapping. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you how the world really works. We're going to go into some deep detail, and you're going to understand the International Criminal Court is a joke. We're going to talk about all the ancient stuff. Thank you to Mr. Bauer from Switzerland. That is his actual real last name, Bauer, who sent me a ton of really, really good stuff. We're going to integrate this. This will be a good video, and we're going to talk about something called tone deaf, being tone deaf. T-O-N-E, tone deaf. We're going to talk about the way information is either not addressed, or when it is addressed, it's addressed like this. Yeah, someone's coming to kill you tomorrow. They're going to gut you, kill you, rape you, and dismember your body with a chainsaw. But anyway, hey, what are you doing next week? You see how the information doesn't match the urgency. You can see that. And we have a bunch of tone deaf people and a bunch of Americans like you that just accept the fact that a foreign nation runs you, humiliates you, mocks you, and has made you into a giant killing machine roaming around annoying people. And it's time you got fucking angry about it. Ladies and gentlemen, let us attend.
In cyber is a real domain of power. In cyber is a real domain of power.
Before commencing, Steve, we need to remember a couple of things. Number one,
look at these hands. These are workers' hands.
These are workers' hands. I will make a meme. I will start it with that question. We also need to remember Yuri Bezmenov and psych warfare. Let's just remember this, please. Ideological subversion or psychological warfare changes the perception of reality to such an extent that despite the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. Yuri Bezmenov, ex-KGB, 1984. Please remember, let's now listen to Steve. Let's listen to the first 5 minutes, and I've cut the excerpts out already.
What the did you do to stop it? Here's what you did to stop it. Nothing. You know why they did nothing? Because hard to do it. They're gutless. The reason this country in the West is in the shape it's in is because the conservatives who talked a good game about doing better didn't have the balls to sit there and fight and say no.
Hello and welcome.
I deeply apologize for this language. This language caught me completely by surprise. Whew. I feel slightly offended. I may have to go to confession. Steve Bannon needs to go to confession. Let's cut to some good bits, and we're also going to ask questions about these Russian oligarchs and Julia Loffe, who's Russian-born. Obviously works as an analyst or whatever. She's got her own private company now. But she's going to talk about how all these oligarchs are getting up and shaking this fist at the West. All their kids are in London schools. Their bank accounts are in London. It's a farce. At some stage, we've got to call Barleys and say, this stuff is a complete fucking fraud. On a certain level, it's a fraud. Just as Trump told us brilliantly, oh, there's a mosquito, it's going to... It's all right, I scared it away. I saw the hands and went, my God, those are workers' hands, and just bolted. Yeah, I had to open the door. It's cooler tonight. That's why I'm a little bit happier. Yeah, I really mean this. I saw it in Iran. I saw the public perception in the media of Iran. Then I went to Iran, and it was like, this is two different worlds. This is a joke. This is one drug-fueled orgy of we love Israel, we hate Arabs, and we love Europe, and we're sick of it. And like, it's just all a freaking lie. You just see it in 5 minutes flat. Well, so it is with this whole thing. Trump gave the game away when he said, Iran's ringing me, asking for permission to fire missiles. It's a lie. It's not that they like each other. They hate each other. But they seem to answer to someone. Who do they answer to? We have to go into the Jews of Europe, the Hufjuden court Jews again, and we'll go into it, and it'll all make sense. You think the Jews at the international... It's not all Jews. All of them are going to bring that naughty BB. They're going to go, BB, you're being a very bad boy. It's just... I've been watching this for 30 years. 1995, when Yitzhak Rabin was murdered. When there was actually going to be peace. They were actually signing that. There was 60 plus 70% approval ratings for all these deals. To finally there would be some sort of two-state solution and a deal. Jews everywhere, Israelis were in the streets rejoicing, and then along come Likud assassinated him, and that was the end of that. And it's been downhill ever since. One big, long downhill road. Now let's go to some of the Steve Bannon quips that I have collected. Okay, this is Steve saying some pretty profound things. At his level, I was just about... Thank you to the links, everyone, by the way. I always use mostly other people's links. They just send me stuff because I'm too lazy. But this is a very important hour's worth. He's going to say things, I just went... But, you know, Steve, you went thus far, you may as well go the whole way. You're talking East India Company, City of London, Rothschild, central bankers. He's going to say Liz Truss believes the Bank of England, the City of London, tossed her out. I'm just sitting there going, just let me rewind that again. The admissions Steve Bannon makes are profound. Then why the F can't he get his shit together? If you've gone thus far, Steve, go further. Say the whole kit and caboodle. Now Trumpy's going to libertarian conferences making a fool of himself. He's going to pardon, what's his name, Albrecht? Why don't you pardon Assange? Look, Assange is a dickhead. And by the way, mention his friendship with the KGB for the last 30 years, I might add. Plus, since the early 1990s. Ask Assange who Pengo is, P-E-N-G-O. You know, the East German Stasi informant that was working with him when they were hacking the Department of Defense and NASA. Cool, it's just fun. We're just hacking the Department of Defense and NASA. Oh, it's just for fun. While he's chatting with people with a Chabad Lubavitcher out of Phoenix, codename Phoenix, out of Melbourne. And they're hanging with an East German Stasi agent who ended up with his throat cut and burnt to death in a forest in East Germany when Assange went to the magistrate's court. Hey, Julian, some of us have got a memory, bro. Some of us got a memory, but you did better than Edward Snowden, who the word Israel simply doesn't pass his lips, whereas, you know, Assange did mention it from time to time. But Snowden's a joke, but Assange has done enough. He's done enough time. He's a dickhead. He needs a good slapping. They need a proper documentary on what he did. But I don't think it was malice. I just think he's on a mission. He's Australian. I do understand. I had a very similar upbringing without the mind control, sexual deviant cult he was in. But moving school to school, taking on the bully, he's just never grown up. That's all. So I get it. But he's done enough time. 7 years in that embassy would do your head in. You'd rather be in jail. I promise you. You'd rather be in a maximum security jail. Do your head in. Then how many more years now? 4 or 5 years in maximum security Belmarsh, in isolation, where he should be. Trust me, he's too high profile to be in mainstream. Assange has to be in isolation. He'll have books, he'll have televisions. They'll say, oh, he's losing his mind. It's bullshit. He'll get to talk to other prisoners in the special prisoner units. He's probably hanging in, he's probably not quite in isolation. I believe there's a good chance he's with a special prisoner unit, like where prison officers in jail are, where police officers in jail are. unless they really are keeping him in isolation, which would be a tad cruel. If he's not already on Christmas Island between the coasts of northwest Western Australia and Indonesia. Christmas Island is, it used to be a casino there. They used to launder all the International Monetary Fund money from the Suharto regime out of Indonesia and run it through Australian banks, I might add. Oh, lots of shenanigans I know go on in my country. A little isolated Australia, the South Africa too. I think he's on Christmas Island there getting hidden away. I just think they can't be this cruel, surely. But if they are, come on, just let the guy go. So Trump don't want to pardon his sons, but he wants to pardon Albrecht. If you don't know the history of the Pirate Bay, not the Pirate Bay, same thing though, selling the drugs online, that guy hired a fucking hitman. That's the last person you should be pardoning. Should he be out in 15, 20 years? Okay. He hired a hitman. It wasn't a joke. And you're going to pardon him. I don't know who's advising Trump on this stuff, but Trump really needs a slap in the mouth. He's a fool. Now, if Bannon's going to be his chief of staff and Trump, number one, hates Netanyahu, that's well known, totally hates his guts to the nth degree. And because Trump had the nerve to say, we're going to do a deal, aren't we, baby? We're going to do a deal. And Bibi said, well, perhaps if the sky's darkened, it's so complicated, and Trump's there like the dopey clown that he is, perhaps not realizing exactly what he's going into because, he's the boss. He's the World Wrestling Federation compere. He sacks people. He's the president. He's sitting there going, I'm the president, right? And everyone's going, you know how it goes. So anyway, hopefully him and Bannon as his chief of staff will be a lethal combination. Trump has got up and said, I will not allow a central bank digital currency. Well, I'll have to believe it when I see it because I don't think there's a hell of a lot of choice. I'm not against the central bank digital currency. See, we're asking the wrong question. Before we go into Bannon, here's the big question. Are you ready? I'm going to mark this. This is an important question. You ready? Just let me write this down. Oh, I might as well show you the inner workings. What do we got here? I'm just going to write something in. What number is this? 1204. You got a glimpse behind the curtain of this big production. 1204 is... What is it? I've forgotten. What was I putting in? The big question. Who controls the CBDC? Now, what are you doing up there? What are you doing up there? This is the stress I'm under. And I don't want that who. Because people will think that's who. Who controls the CBDC? That is the question we're asking right there. That is part of the cunning plot. It's not about ban or end the Fed. No, don't end the Fed. Take over the Fed. How do the people take over the Fed? Via their elected representatives, via the government, the one they tell you is so evil and we must get rid of it and all be libertarians. And then the Koch brothers don't have to pay any tax. Isn't it wonderful? And in the vacuum of no government and no people participation, we'll have private corporate entities instead. Won't that be wonderful? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you can see this game. I would shoot, murder, destroy, decapitate every fucking libertarian. I hate them. I cannot stand them. They are full of shit. And just to let you know, you dumb libertarian pieces of shit, your country, America, is the biggest socialist handout state on the planet with $1 trillion high technology budget. Handouts, literal handouts for the imaginary fucking enemies overseas that you keep creating as a way of socializing the costs of high technology and then handing it to fucking free. That's how it works. So don't talk to me about capitalist America. You are a quasi-capitalist, mostly socialist, gigantic taxpayer-funded handout. Golden calf that they can milk again and again and again. And you libertarians are full of shit. You wouldn't last 5 freaking seconds in a true hardcore market economy. You wouldn't last 5 seconds. So stop your freaking fantasies. You are a curse and you are so infiltrated by Israel. You're so infiltrated by the political Zionist movement. You are full of shit. You're a bunch of drug dealers, Bitcoin, drug money launderers and pieces of shit. That's what you are. I mean, I hate you more than I hate the white nationalist movement. I absolutely fucking despise you. And when I'm dictator...
Yeah, on the list.
I'm deadly serious. I'd exterminate all of you. Oh, you think it's a joke? No, I'm being serious. I want a reckoning. I want fire to rain down on heaven on every bullshit artist, spoilt little brat, dickhead, who thinks he knows it all, and if we're just libertarian, I'm a libertarian, you wouldn't last 5 fucking minutes in a true free market economy, you delusional pieces of shit. The fact that Trump gave you the time of day shows who the hell's advising him. I'd love to know. The question we have to answer with central bank digital currencies, are you ready? Is who controls it. I don't care if it's there. They can get all the data they like. I love data. Data's wonderful. You know why data's wonderful? Because data can tell you exactly how much liquid fiat cash, whether it be in a debit card, credit card, or a central bank digital currency, to release into the system, whether through loans or grants or whatever socialist handout there is this week, preferably for working people, because these are workers' hands. Capiche? I love data. Data can be a wonderful thing. It will make the economy hum along reasonably smoothly. You can raise it up and build it as time permits. When there's a lack of goods and services or access to resources, you can wind it back very quickly utilizing data and real-time data. Isn't that wonderful? See, the question we need to ask is, who controls the central bank digital currency? Who? People said, but they can cancel my bank account. What are you talking about? They're doing it right now. They can cancel your credit card. They could call me up right now from Australia and say, Mr. O'Connell, where do you live? Where are you paying some taxes? Well, until you work it out, you can't touch your bank account. Oh my God, I don't even have a central bank digital currency and I'm banned, just like that. Or what happened to me in Malaysia? You know what happened to me in Malaysia? Lo and behold, guess what happened? The banks just didn't work. I couldn't transfer money and put money out of the ATM machine. I go to the bank in Malaysia, speak in English to the woman. It's not, appears to be no problem here, sir. The problem's in Australia. Call up Australia. Nope, sir, we're not even receiving a signal. Nothing to do with us. And I sat there for 4 days. Nothing. No one could work it out. I was fucked. F-U-C-K-E-D. Fucked. No central bank digital currency. And I'll tell you why they did it. It's a long story. But then I said, oh, you're upset because I'm doing this. What do you know? The bank account started working. So stop this horse shit that if we all have a central bank digital currency, they'll somehow be able to stop. I hate to break it to you. They can stop your credit card right now. They can throw out your bank account, and they have done it to people right now. So I'm a little unsure about what's the problem with the central bank digital currency. I want a central bank under the control of the people, via the government, via the state, via my elected representatives, where you will preferably be a part of the system, taking part in it as a shareholder of the state. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I love data. I love the fact they can see what I'm spending. And I don't give a shit as long as who has control of the central bank. Who? Preferably not a fucking Jewish noble piece of shit Masonic Luciferian rationalist named fucking Rothschild. How about that? Do you ever think that maybe they don't want a central bank digital currency? Maybe they don't like that idea. Have you ever considered that? So let's start with the debate. There is nothing wrong with a central bank digital currency. It's when you link it with a blockchain. It's when you link it with the electronic sovereign digital rights drawing ledger, or whatever you call it. And then suddenly someone over at the Bank of International fucking Settlements outside can somehow have a say in how I spend my money. That worries me. That's why I want America, via the power of its trillion-dollar gigantic military-industrial complex, to fuck everyone on this planet right now and take it over. That's what. Let's not end the Fed. Let's call to take over the Fed. In fact, the whole fucking thing. SWIFT, Bank of International Settlements, how about City of London? I say you get in deals with the military out of England and MI5 and MI6. And how about we all get in there and take the freaking thing over? How about that? Why don't we change the narrative? Okay, I just don't want it all linked in with my Apple Watch, which is taking my pulse and my blood pressure and my oxygen levels, or when they slap us into a little closet and get us on the UBI. If you want extra privileges, they start saying you'll have to put physical sensors in your body because we want the real-time data. We want real-time data on your blood glucose, blood pressure, oxygen carrying capacity. We want to link that all into real-time, into the Internet of Things, and slap it out via the 28 to 60 gigahertz high-frequency 5G and put it into our fucking gigantic AI machine learning monster. That would worry me, via the electronic sovereign drawing rights distributed ledger technology linked in with the blockchain. That's the specific worry. As for a central bank digital currency, don't give a shit. There is no difference between that and a fucking credit card right now. So why don't you quit it? You're being duped on that answer. Who runs the central bank, because these are the workers' hands, the people. The people run it, the people own it via their participation in the political process, via a new popular culture, which gives time and energy to people so they have the energy to take part in their local political party, in their local political meetings, in their local school, in their precinct districts and all the rest. That is what we need to articulate, and to stop letting them dominate the narrative and just, you hear something like a parrot online and go, central bank digital currency bad, because you can't think for yourself. What the fuck is the difference between that and my credit card? Think about it. What we don't want is the Bank of International Settlements and some unelected Jewish noble Hoofjuden over there, unaccountable in Europe, cancelling my bank account, or God forbid, an AI machine learning thing cancelling my bank account. That is why you want it in America, run by Americans. And if you want to get a part of it and have some control over it, you better go over there and become an American citizen and get involved in the political process. I hope I've made myself clear. Let's get back to Steve. Are you ready for this? Listen closely. Dun, dun, dun. Are you ready for this? Well, where are we? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
Trump supporters see Trump as political chemo. He may be toxic, he may kill every healthy cell in the bloodstream, but he is the only cure for the cancer that is Washington.
Exactly, ladies and gentlemen. What a combo. Will Trump ban the central bank digital currency, or at least just take it over? Will Steve Irish whiskey, coke and hookers on Moscow Bannon, will he finally have a shower, do his hair properly and not get drunk on War Room? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Steve Bannon.
And you must start to take on the MI5, MI6
Whoa.
deep state. Should not be lost on people in England, or if it is, you've got to get up the learning curve. Your deep state teaches, we're like junior partners. I mean, it's like World War II, the OSS, we had a bunch of cowboys running around. They've always looked at, British intelligence has always looked at U.S. intelligence as a little bit of schoolboys that need to be learned up. You guys have a much deeper problem than we do.
Why do you say, by the way, just out of curiosity, why do you say MI6 and MI5? Because, I mean, isn't this thing across all government departments?
It is, but I think it also, the intelligence services are the ones that I think always drive a lot of the action.
Why? What evidence have you got for that?
I've got all the evidence of Crossfire Hurricane. Just look at the details of Crossfire Hurricane. They were very open in working with...
Come on, Steve. I agree. The Steele dossier was a load of crap, but you were doing dodgy meetings with Kissinger in 2016. You were doing dodgy meetings in Rome with none other than Alexander Dugin, whose father was a Russian GRU general. Hello? You were running out of meetings with Kushner and two other people, and you're all going out 4 separate doors. Hello? I think there needed to be an investigation. Don't tell me that Crossfire Hurricane was not warranted.
Working with the Hillary Clinton team and others, and Comey and all these people, in trying to set up the Trump campaign back in the spring and summer of 2016. They're very active. And we kind of cover this under the Five Eyes and all these intelligence agreements. Look, I'm pro-ally and pro-alliance. What I don't want is a merger and kind of a combination of the deep state that essentially controls things, controls information. But you're right. You've actually got the other thing. It should be, let's go back.
Again, the deep state. It's Rothschild. It's Rothschild. They privatized it, Steve. Do you remember that small Richard Mercer company, or Cambridge Analytica? Do you remember that one? SCL Group. NATO, Steve, come on. You're not getting away with it. I'm on your ass, boy. No whiskey for you.
When we talk about administrative state, deep state, we have a government, and this number is not put out correctly. We have a government, a federal government in the United States, I think is about 2.25 million people. We have a military, all but, is about 2.5 million. And I think if you take all the numbers, that's around 4.5 or 5 million of that. But we have another 18 million contractors. Those contractors, half of them are the guys doing IT. But half of them are just because we can't get permanent billers to put them on the government payroll, are paid for the equivalent of SES. I mean, so you have essentially...
Did he just say the SES? Ladies and gentlemen, he just said the SES, the Special Executive Service. That's right back to the City of London. How interesting. It's almost like he stopped and said, oh shit, can't quite go that far. Thus far and no further, Steve. But well done. No cigar, but you get half a cigarette. Not bad.
12 million bureaucrats or functionaries in the administrative state that controls a budget of $7 trillion a year. in the United States, $7 trillion, $2 trillion deficit every year. Of that, when we take power, we only get 3,000 political appointees that can go in day one, don't have to be confirmed. 1,000 have to be confirmed by the Senate. And as you know from the last time, that can get hung up for years. There were half the billets we never filled from Senate confirmations. And McConnell and these rhinos and the Democrats only decide who to put through when they put through. So you essentially have 3,000 people and a handful of others. In England, you have
100.
100. And this is why, hey, I'm an Irish Republican. I'm very anti-monarch. And one of the reasons is that the monarchy, so many of the people in the deep and administrative state are either appointees of monarch or close into the crown, or not just so. I think you're.
What do you mean by that? I mean, King Charles isn't appointing the deep state, is he? Sort of.
No, but you have the people at the next level. They're all in the same clubs. Those people in the government.
You mean the sort of establishment elite?
Yes,
not
they're not like
the monarchy
they're not
themselves.
the 100. There's not like the 100. Remember, also because you have this quaint notion, and some was powerful, of amateurism, that people can go over and take portfolios and just learn it. In today's complex world, that means that the administrators, the people that are there, have much, much more power because they set the agenda or just don't pay attention to what you do. Let's go back to the Liz Truss situation.
This is interesting.
It's insanity for her to do what you do and not put these numbers out and say, well, you can wait 6 weeks or 8 weeks. We were sitting there every day, go, hey, if you're going to do something like this, which is have big tax cuts and do a kind of a supply side tax cut that over time it's going to get rejuvenated, you've got to convince people you're not going to blow up the bond market and particularly blow up the pension fund market that'll start taking people's retirements off the table. You have a duty and obligation to be straightforward. One of the reasons there is that you had I believe, a chancellor of the exchequer that maybe wasn't as up to speed on capital markets as he needed to be and sophisticated. And so I think when she says, remember her argument, not mine. She says the deep state of the Bank of England and the other financial community with the City of London turfed her out.
Wow.
And I think I don't agree with that totally, but there's definitely something there. The lords of easy money on Wall Street and the City of London have enormous power. And
I still prefer Eurofags versus the Coke and Hooker Wall Street boys. I will claim that as my own.
And they have enormous power in these agencies. They have enormous power in our Treasury. They have enormous power in our Federal Reserve, and they have enormous power in the Bank of.
Whoa. In the Bank of England, that's what he's saying. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Bannon. What's Steve? And you look mildly sober there. Well done. Let's go into another one, shall we? Let's have a look-see. Well, I forgot to mention we'll be doing extracts on the Pirates of Silicon Valley to show you the fakeness of it all, how they set up, the City of London owns it all. They own AMD, they own Intel. They're setting up this, you always hear the word great power competition. It's the same whether it's a corporation, a business that they set up, prop up their heroes like an Elon Musk, moron, put him at the front, or Jensen Huang, who runs NVIDIA, who admittedly is an asshole, but a genius nonetheless, and the much nicer head of AMD, what's her name, Lisa Su. Nonetheless, it's all fake competition. We're going to show that in some of the notorious scenes from the Pirates of Silicon Valley, which is an excellent. It's watching Steve Jobs, how he set up Apple II versus the Macintosh crew to deliver it. You see, this is how they operate. It's fake. They own everything. They own everyone, but they still don't have all the power because they have to operate in the dark. And they just don't have enough assholes to do the work. That's why they were heading hard towards semi-autonomous kill vehicles and fully autonomous surveillance. They're way behind schedule. They're in deep, deep trouble. And we'll go into that in a minute. Let's find another one. So that was an amazing. Let's now talk to Loffe, Julia Loffe, and some of that from an extract from a PBS thing on Putin. Now she's a bit. She's got a foul mouth on her. This one, I quite like it. She basically despises Trump. How unusual. But this is from 2 years ago, but she's accused him of effing his daughter. She got fired from Politico because of it. I must admit, that was quite a rouse. What a woman. Whew, mouth like that. Lord have mercy. Putin's road to war. This is a couple of years old, but she's going to talk about all these Putin henchmen who are there, boo the West. It's a war. But all their kids go to London private schools and all their bank accounts. It's all fucking fake. I mean, literally. It's fucking fake. Literally.
To head up this new security agency called the Rosgvardia, or the Russian Guard, he picked Viktor Zolotov, who was his old bodyguard. And this is, I want to say, a mace in human form, or, a club in human form. Just completely loyal muscle and fists. And what you saw in that meeting was he gets up there in his uniform with his striped military, standard issue military undershirt, ranting about the Americans and how the Ukrainians are just American puppets. And of course, at the same time, his grandson lives in London. That was the thing about pretty much everybody in that meeting. They went up there and dutifully said what the master wanted them to say, both about the breakaway republics and about the West, while all of them have relatives and property in the West.
And their bank accounts. Let's go on. This is just some insights. She may be wrong.
The last thing I'll say about the Security Council meeting is we now...
just some insights they've got to do with, and I believe 100% everything she's saying here. I've heard this from dozens of other sources. The chaos that involved, how terrified they are of Putin. Who's backing Putin? Well, of course, because him and his arch-globalist friends, Klaus Schwab, the old Kissinger and Associates, that's why. But listen to what she has to say. It's quite interesting.
A week into the war, more and more information is coming out of Moscow about how shocked everybody is in the Kremlin, in the defense ministry, in the foreign ministry. Nobody, not even people pretty close to Putin, thought he would do this. They thought he would recognize the breakaway republics, maybe move some troops in, and that would be the extent of it. Nobody expected this.
I must confess, that's exactly what I thought he would do. I couldn't believe it when they said he was trying to take all of Ukraine. I was in shock. I just thought, what? How's he going to do that? I still want to ask the question, who told Putin he could do that? Who told him? Someone assured him he could do it. Very interesting.
People in the Kremlin and in the Prime Minister's office are telling journalists anonymously that they're absolutely stunned, and they kind of don't know what to do when they didn't expect this, and they're just like shell-shocked. People in the Ministry of Defense, including pretty high-ranking members of the Ministry of Defense, are just completely stunned and seem to have been completely caught off guard by Putin's orders to launch a full-scale invasion. I read those news stories about anonymous sources in the Kremlin and in the Prime Minister's office and in the Foreign Ministry being against this and being shell-shocked, and I think, well, why don't they all resign? You can't arrest them all. Why don't they resign? Why don't they not follow these orders if they think they're deranged, which they clearly do? I think back to that Security Council meeting, and I realize how scared they must all be of him, how they are all locked into this closed solar system with him as the center, and they're all afraid of getting arrested or falling from grace. They have no life outside of this. They can't exist outside of the government. If you get that high up and that close to Putin, if you fall, you don't fall back to civilian life. You go to jail. You lose everything. And they also have clearly been living in this atmosphere of fear that they are also helping foment in the nation and spread in the country, but they themselves are clearly scared. But you see how this all went down, or you're starting to see in retrospect how this all happened and how much of it was driven just by one man, his deranged ideas, and how everybody around him thought it was a terrible idea but was too scared to say anything about it or to resist. And it just makes me feel like, I'm getting a sneak peek into how it worked in the 1930s.
Whoa, what just happened? I don't know, I just pressed the wrong button. I was a bit excited seeing my new squiz, Yulia Loffe, ever since Whitney betrayed me. And Brianna, my chocolate tonight, is just too, new agey left wing. It's really annoying. She's being groomed, clearly, for the new age Democrats. Maybe AOC will be the new Nancy Pelosi. God, no. Yes, I just got to get some glasses on Yulia Loffe, and then I'll consider it. consider marriage, maybe. Oh, just on what she was saying there about everyone was shocked. Understand, it was all the multipolar world order. It was all arranged. He was going to go into Ukraine and take all that over, and China was going to be there, and Iran would be handling the stands, and they will be cooperating with Germany and France. Remember? And I remember when they had that like Zoom-like interview, and Putin's leg was just bouncing up and down. He was nervous as hell. Biden was extremely confident on his Adderall and completely senile and not knowing where he was. Probably thought he was at a child sex trafficking ring meeting or something. To get his quota for the week. And I remember watching Putin's body language. He was nervous as hell. You see, he took that risk. The multipolar world order thing was off. They were blowing up the gas. He knew what was coming. And he said, what the hell? We got Crimea. We got away with all the stuff. We had General Flynn. I made a call to Bibi. Bibi assures me, just give it a go. They're all weak and confused. They're all wearing high heels and shaving their legs in the Pentagon. It'll be fine. Well, he got conned. He got done over. Now, let's go into Putin, Loffe accomplishments, Trump. Now, just in case you didn't know, I was going to be in the Russian Orthodox Church. I knew a lot of Russians. I followed the Eastern Rite Catholic churches in Ukraine, plus the Ukrainian Orthodox, plus the Russian Orthodox, of course, the ROKOR, Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia. I know a lot about the history. I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, Lech Walesa and Solidarity and all those movements that were coming up. I was 19 when the wall came down. I was steeped in the martyrs of the church and the stories and Solzhenitsyn and the struggles, 10 years for having an icon of Jesus and Mary under your pillow. Meanwhile, they build a synagogue, the Great Synagogue in Moscow in 1924 at the height of the Christian persecution. Still can't find one account of a synagogue or a Muslim mosque for that being blown up, turned into pig pens, and if it was nice, they turned it into a library. Can't find a single account anywhere. When you understand they built the Moscow Synagogue, the Grand Synagogue in 1924. Think about that. And when I pointed that out, it was a PDF for holidays between Israel and Russia. I hadn't caught on. This is 2008, 2007. And it said, come and see the Grand Synagogue built in 1974. And I got to the website and I downloaded the PDF and I put it up. Within 2 hours, that website was down completely. Within 2 hours. They built the Grand Synagogue in 1924. I know a bit about the church. Patriarch Kirill, Mr. Gundiev, that piece of garbage with his Swiss watches, $30,000 watches, the drug money laundering. He's probably a billionaire on tobacco and alcohol taxes. And he says, well, we may as well get the taxes for it. You know, the church is selling vodka and tobacco. I mean, this is scientific man, baby, pretending to be a priest, another KGB patriarch. And of course, oil taxes as well. The guy's a billionaire, but you never hear about it. Talk about Pope Francis all day, and you should. But you know what? Try to get anything about the Russian Orthodox Church Patriarch, Kirill, or Gundiev, his real name, and you'll go nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. They're that protected. They can't protect it. It's Israel can protect it. Let's move on to Loffe talking about, Julia's talking. I've got to get her some glasses. Someone write to her. Tell her to put some glasses on, please. Pull her hair back in a ponytail. I insist. So these are the accomplishments. Understand, Putin might be a sincere Orthodox Christian. Who can say? Medvedev definitely isn't. He's a laughingstock. Everyone knows he'd take a dump on the church. He doesn't care. It's debatable whether Putin is. I think Putin probably sees it as a powerful instrument of the state and vital to the control of populations, but in a good way. He'd see it as a good way. People need it. People require it. It's debatable how sincere his faith is. But he believes, number one, this is common. I'm telling you stuff that's in the church, Russian Orthodox Church, that Russia will revive and protect Christianity. That is well known in the church. They believe there is no democracy in heaven, meaning the autocratic system is what should be in place. The sacred tradition, Julia Evola and so on. Steve Bannon likes him as well. And so on and so forth. So just to understand the traditions that he definitely believes in.
Happening. He has managed to splinter Europe. He has managed to take advantage of the Obama administration's waffling on the Middle East to get involved in Syria and therefore make it even more impossible for the U.S. to do anything. So he has kind of drawn a line in the sand so that the U.S. can't topple Bashar al-Assad. He has become very close with the Israeli government with Bibi Netanyahu, muscling in on what is traditionally American geopolitical turf, right? There's the truism in Washington is that America has no closer ally in the Middle East than Europe. Well, suddenly
Israel.
The Israeli prime minister is going to Moscow more often than he's going to Washington.
Wow.
He's selling arms to American allies, Egypt and Saudi Arabia, who are some of the biggest buyers of American arms and are seen as allies of the U.S.
But he's very confident in himself.
Very
and
confident.
his ability to.
Yeah.
He does take this risk in the election, and he gets.
Why is he confident? Well, it's a good question, Julia, Loffe. Why is he so confident? Oh, I don't know. Cyber is the real domain of power. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Core coding of Microsoft Windows, Intel Corporation. Just an idea. Think about it. I think you need a private session, Julia, to get you up to speed.
Whether or not he had any influence on the outcome of the election, he gets credit for it from a lot of people. Trump ends up winning. There's some sanctions and some diplomats kicked out. But what does he take out from the end of that? Is he even more emboldened at the end of 2016?
Well, first of all, I don't think he expected Trump to win. So that was a huge bonus. Because at the time, everybody in the Kremlin and in Russia thought, at the time, everybody in the Kremlin and everybody who was Kremlin adjacent thought that Trump was their greatest ally and that he would be there, as one former Kremlin advisor told me, that he would be our wrecking ball inside America. They didn't expect to get that lucky. I don't think they expected Americans to get so worked up. And on one hand, they didn't like it because it brought about all these sanctions and a vilification of Russia. On the other hand, now Americans thought they were 12 feet tall and perfect villains. And I think the fact that we still don't know, and we'll never be able to know whether Putin and the Russians influenced the outcome of the elections is it's kind of part of the brilliance of the operation, right? They've gotten in our heads.
And that's Cambridge Analytica.
And Trump. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, and then he ultimately gets away with it.
City of London,
Trump is grateful because Trump has been briefed that Putin tried to help him win. Trump is grateful. He likes Putin because he wants to be like Putin. It's the kind of guy he can understand and relate to because that's the kind of leader he wants to be. And even though every once in a while Trump's own administration and Congress are rolling out sanctions against Russia, he's also constantly kneecapping NATO. He is undermining the EU at every.
To be fair, he kept saying, pay your way, come up with the cash, 2%. Hand it over.
Turn. He is exacerbating divisions inside the European Union, which is just, music to Putin's ears. He's doing Putin's.
What do you mean, Julia? You need a private briefing, my love. Where's my whip? You need a private briefing. France and Germany are in bed with fucking Putin, for crying out loud. Wasn't it that obvious? With his buddy Bibi, I'll give you 2 points. You mentioned the Bibi relationship. How about some Kissinger action? Huh?
Work for him. So even with the sanctions, which were, I think, of minimal impact to the Russian economy, I think he saw that as a win. I think he clocked that as a win, and that means it was a signal to keep going, to take more.
Julia, no. Let's go to the next one, which is that was the legacy. Now let's talk about the accomplishments. Oh, sorry. Here's the legacy. I clicked the wrong one. That was talking about Putin's accomplishments. Now let's talk about the legacy. This is what I was talking about to do with the legacy of the churches and how he's going to revive Russia and Russia will revive Christianity, blah, blah, blah.
He is clearly thinking about his legacy and has been for some time. I think Ukraine was always a missing piece in the legacy.
Belt and Road, baby. Belt and Road.
Far smarter people than I have written about this, but
indeed,
from the Kremlin's point of view, or from Putin's point of view, in the fall of 2021. He has vanquished the opposition. I mean, there's nobody left. People are either dead in jail or in exile. Civil society has been eviscerated. There's barely any independent media left. The economy is doing pretty well. It has survived the sanctions of the last few years. He has squirreled away these massive reserves, 600-something billion. He has slowly built up Russia's position in the world, often by playing spoiler,
Multipolar
and often
world
by
order.
taking the U.S. down a few pegs. He has kind of equalized, or more, has rebalanced the power dynamic
With the
between
help of
Russia
Israel
and
and
the US.
Likud.
He's built a good relationship with China.
They got
He has
Chabad
filled
Lubavitch in
the
there.
vacuum left in the Middle East by the U.S. withdrawal. He has
That was
moved
the
into
plan.
parts of Africa and Latin America. He has, in his mind, reestablished Russia as a superpower on the world stage. And all that's missing is Ukraine, which, recall, he does not believe is a real country, which he believes historically is part of Russia, and which needs to be brought back into the fold.
Indeed. Close, but no cigar, my sweet. No cigar. Evgeny Primakov Doctrine, Multipolar World Order. Come on. Eurasian Economic Union. Come on. Those articles were out in 2019. What's going on, Julia Loffe? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Julia's my new squiz. Just needs a fantasy. Sorry, Brianna, the Hill chocolate delight. Oh my God. Watching her, she's excited like a squealing schoolgirl. She can tell she's been said, we'll get you with Kent and what's the name of the Young Turks. You're going to be the new blood in the Democrats. Oh, Lord, I don't know, Brianna, what have you done? I don't even have your glasses on anymore. It's very disappointing. But let's now go into Steve Jobs as we go into just how fake it all is. And when I say fake, I mean this. They all hate each other, don't get me wrong. But there appears to be an Emperor Palpatine they're answering to. Who could that be? It's straight out of June, baby. June 1 and 2. Straight out of Frank Herbert's great book, Iraqus and the Spice, which is the oil. I mean, it's a play on the whole thing. Instead of the US just taking over, it's like the US is answering to someone else. Who might that be? I thought the US State Department with the elected representatives and the executive was running things. Apparently not. Apparently there's another layer of control operating down there within the scenes. So let's see, using Steve Jobs and one of my favorite movies ever. It's based on the book Fire in the Valley, about how Apple and Microsoft got going. They stole all the stuff, and Jobs was talented. Gates had no talent. He was a fucking moron. Steve Allen was the genius, and he died, unfortunately, young. Jobs was an asshole, but very good at marketing. Steve Wozniak was a little genius, and he's a nice guy. Somebody told me there's some allegations against him with kids, and I was like, oh, come on, man. Don't spoil my favorite Polish Jewish. Can I not have anyone that I like without hearing about this? Anyway, Wozniak was there, but Jobs was a bit of a genius, but he was not alone. He was groomed with a guy from Intel. He used to fund Intel, came in, gave him a lot of money, and they got the guy out of Coca-Cola. Jobs was so arrogant and such a prick, though, that he was hated, but he was the only executive that refused to take part in some of those early 2009, 2010, 2011 spy programs. Then he got pancreatic cancer, unfortunately, or fortunately, according to some. But I urge you, this is the Pirates of Silicon Valley. I wish they would remake it. It's got Steve Crazy Eyes Cokehead Palmer in there, being the dickhead that he is. It's very accurate and close to the book. It's really well made. The characters are well done. It's the Pirates of Silicon Valley, and it's available on YouTube. I could help you find the high quality movie of it, which I have. But it's worth watching. It just tells you the whole story of how they ripped each other off, how they stole everything. Stole it all off Xerox, the mouse, the graphical user interface, all that stuff. It is brilliant. But what I want to show you now is 3 sections where you see Steve Jobs messing with the heads of his employees to set them against each other. Now imagine a Rothschild, City of London, puffing up their executives, making them into rock stars like an Elon Musk bullshit, and they don't fucking own anything. It's all owned by BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard and all the rest. It all flows back to the damn City of London, and the military-industrial complex is deep in there using taxpayer funds to fund the new weapons of war, the system of control on people, movement control, and ultimately how to kill us all. And in these 3 little sections of the Pirates of Silicon Valley, which again is I wish I'd just remake it, same script, don't alter anything. It needs to be remade. But it's too accurate, it's too close to the truth. It's 1999. Let's watch it now. Okay, let us begin. Just want to get the sound right.
We have to think of ourselves as artists.
This is Steve
It's
Jobs.
like Picasso said, good artists copy.
Great artists steal.
This is who we wanted to steal from, Xerox. They were secretly developing all this amazing stuff like the mouse and the graphics on the screen instead of just a bunch of numbers. But when those California engineers had to go to New York and present all this neat stuff to the Xerox brass, those executives didn't begin to understand what they were looking at. Never mind a mouse, it was like someone dumped a dead rat on the boardroom table.
A mouse. You want Xerox to consider something called a mouse?
See, this is where Steve was a genius, because he persuaded Xerox's head office into showing us all this incredible stuff their California guys had developed. I'm telling you, it was making their people absolutely nuts.
Oh, God.
Let's go.
I love this movie.
You know, I felt like one of the Mongol hordes coming to loot and plunder a bunch of defenseless villagers.
No. This is insane. We'll just be handing him everything. I mean, we created the mouse and all the rest of it, and now these idiots in New York want to show it all to Steve Jobs.
In New York,
I won't do it.
Hi, I'm Steve Jobs. I need you to answer some other questions about the stuff you've invented, the graphic interface. It's not going to hurt.
That's what you think. What do you want to know?
Okay, now what is this thing? Is it integer or is it compound? I don't.
Is your operating system converted to executable code? I got it, Steve-O, I got it.
What does he understand?
What is the middle?
It's pretty neat, right? Click, you're there. Click, you're somewhere else. This graphic interface stuff was like a miracle back then, and we got it. Steve got it from Xerox, who just turned it all over for us to fool with.
Let's think for ourselves. Do you seriously think a bunch of New York executives at Xerox were confused about what they were looking at? You think they spent millions, if not tens of millions of dollars developing that graphical user interface, building their own hardware, writing their own software, building their own mice and all these different things, which I might add were around in the 1970s with a literal version of Skype in 1970-72. I can even show you video of that. Do you know who was involved with that? None other than Dr. Steve Bannon. Very interesting. It's in All Watched Over by Machines of Loving Grace. They literally had the mouse, the keyboard, all sorts of stuff, and the Skype-like interface in 71, 72. But do you really believe, and this is what I mean where they start getting silly. Someone at Xerox just went, let's just hand it to an opposition corporation. Let's just hand it to them. And they go, what are you talking about? You must understand they've been told by Emperor Palpatine from the great Emperor Kwisatz Haderach of June, or whatever the hell his name is, to hand it over. The executives in New York were told Xerox to hand it over. This is the way these corporations hand around the technology from Lockheed Martin and Boeing and Rafael Systems and British Aerospace, all the rest. They hand the technology out. They hand it to some retard, went to the Jewish day school in South Africa. Elon Musk, they're fake. Obviously, some of them are talented. Guy that started TSMC in genius in Taiwan. Lisa Su, genius. Jensen Wang runs NVIDIA. Look, that genius. I mean, Jobs wasn't a technical genius, but he was a very good manager, an asshole. But there's no talent in Steve Ballmer and good old Bill Gates. None. Zero. Steve Allen was they had to bring people in to try and get the shit sorted out. The same, it was very similar with the guys out of Intel, I might add, you know, the Gordon Moores and Phil Noyce and all that. They had to, oh no, another Jew, Hungarian Jew, what's his name? Oh hell, I've forgotten his name. They had to bring him in there to get the corporation running. But they were the geniuses, like Wozniak was a little genius and they had the manager in Steve Jobs. But I ask you to think for yourself, do you seriously think Xerox got all confused? It's because the Lodge spoke, City of London spoke, State Street, Vanguard, all the boys on Wall Street. The Coke and Hooker boys spoke. Hand that technology to our new up-and-comer Apple. We like him. This is how it works. And it's not just for corporations. It's for countries as well. I'm giving you gold here. If you get anything from me at all, whether I get facts wrong or timing wrong, I want to give you concepts. Concepts that you can understand and you're going to go, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, now I think about it. Yeah, you're right. That was bullshit. Xerox did not just accidentally hand over that stuff. The boys in New York ordered them to hand it over in Silicon Valley. This is the way the technology is distributed equally amongst their little posse of criminals. This is organized crime. Let's move on to the next section. This is where Wozniak, these are all true. This is very accurate. This came straight out of the book. The book was very well researched, called Fire in the Valley. And this is the movie based on that book called The Pirates of Silicon Valley. I love this movie so much. I've researched it. I've looked at the book. I still haven't read the book, but I looked up everything I could find online about it. It's fascinating. But this is the scene where Wozniak walks in and says, this isn't fun anymore. And he's stirring up the Apple II crew with the Macintosh crew, and he's getting them to fight each other because he wants to create tension. So when you hear about great power competition between China and America, it's the exact same thing. These are City of London hands at work, distributing and divvying up the whole fucking planet. Watch. On a roll here.
Even when I got my memory back, it was never the same for me. I couldn't believe how it all changed. Apple was tearing itself to pieces. Steve had turned it into two camps. His new Macintosh group against everyone else in the company.
Steve! What the hell is this? It's like a family. Things get messy. I don't understand this. You got the Mac people against the Apple II people. They're beating each other up. It's amazing, huh? People want to be shaped, molded. But if you asked any of them, they deny it. I don't want to shape anybody, Steve. This isn't fun anymore. Maybe fun is just fragments of existence with better packaging.
Boss.
I don't make jokes anymore. I told you a long time ago I like jokes. Steve! Goodbye. I'm quitting Apple.
Well, that's a joke, right?
No. I'm going back to college.
Wise. Hey, what are you doing? I don't think it's such a good idea.
Look, all I'm doing now is being a brake pedal for you as you're heading for the wall.
Wise!
Tears for Fears, man. 80s, baby. 80s. It's when Margaret Thatcher took all the milk off the children and the great battles with the union movement, and they kicked all their commie union movement people out and they all came to Australia. Let's go on to the next one. I'm giving you gold here. Think, yeah. Now they're all down the beach and you see them still fighting as he continues to manipulate his workers.
We've had our casualties along the way, but today's about celebrating. Macintosh. It's time for a christening of our little Macintosh, our baby. artist's ship. In this company, in Apple, in the entire business, we, you, the Macintosh team are the only true artists. You can forget Apple, forget Lisa. It's only us, the Macintosh team. We have been chosen to seize history. But first, Carpe Diem, seize the day. It's your time to party, people.
Good job. That's the Intel guy and the Coca-Cola executive who were brought in to settle down. Manipulating people. This is the way they work.
Sick of his crap.
What'd you say, man?
You heard me?
You want to talk like that about Steve? You want to talk like that about the guy who feeds you, man? The guy who feeds you?
Hey,
guys,
never like this at Pepsi Cola.
knock it off.
You want to sell sugar water the rest of your life?
He's right over there. He'll hear you. Hey,
Steve, I'm worried. Yeah?
Yeah. About what's happening.
All the, them versus us stuff, Macintosh versus Apple II.
You don't understand, John. People need a cause. We missed Vietnam. This is our Vietnam.
Yes. I hope you get it. There's a little bit of gold in there, I promise you, when you think about it. Now when you hear about great power competition, it's now not within the corporate environment we're talking about here. Now we're talking about the nation-state environment, which for a City of London rep for the noble Hoofdjuden of Europe, bringing back the colony under the Crown corporate and bringing it back under the Commonwealth, this is how the king, the emperor, distributes the materials to his barons and his princes. This is exactly how it works. Right down to the management of the Ukraine-Russia war to kill off these alpha males on both sides so they can dump in a big bunch of raving lunatic Jew Hasidim out of freaking Israel when they get rid of them. They're going to dump them in Ukraine. I do believe that now. I absolutely believe it. It is inexcusable the way they are managing this war. I think it's disgusting. There are so many dead now on both sides. And I believe Putin knows very well. They've said, listen, Vlad, we're going to kill off all your best colonels, your officer corps, bunch of you young drunken males that are useless anyway, and we're going to bring in robots and drones, baby, all right? Robots and drones, you're going to maintain there. You're going to scare everyone under the War Powers Act and justify all this new stuff. The problem is this. There is a change, though. Emperor Palpatine's in a bit of bother. The Coke and Hooker boys on Wall Street are rebelling. They want it's straight out of June. It's House Atreides versus House Harkonnen. It is exactly how it's transpiring. And I keep telling you, I just don't know if this group is going to be any better if the American public don't take seriously getting a hold of the political system, getting control of the AI, getting control of the fiber optic cables, getting control of the technology, and working within that Japan, AUKUS, Australia, Anglosphere. Please, it's okay, everyone. We can all be involved. You don't just have to be white or blonde-haired and blue-eyed, but that Anglosphere needs to control this with the assistance of France, God willing, a sovereign France and ultimately a sovereign Germany, out of the hands of the central bankers, the young princelings, into true sovereign states. That's the dream. But you can see now how they are distributing this stuff around the place. Elon Musk, classic example. Steve Jobs, that whole thing. See that manipulation? It's like great power competition between nation states. Why the fuck doesn't America just dominate? Oh no, we've got to have great power competition. Who fucking says? No, you just bow down to Rome, kiss the fucking ring, and if you're good and you have a transparent government with freedom of information, doesn't have to be exact, but I think the Chinese people should be able to criticize their leadership without being thrown in jail and having their organs stolen. Just a radical concept, I know. They should be able to have some basic 2, 3, or 4-party pretend democracy. Can't the Chinese people have that? What about the Russian people? We're going to have to grow up, learn how to be adults, and be involved in our politics. How long will that take? Look, it's going to take 100 years. But it has to start in the United States. I don't know how else you administer a high technology society. I don't know how you do it. It's a difficult thing. Let's talk about great power competition just to put the icing on the cake of this concept. Let's watch the great Bernie. These are multi-millionaire workers' hands. Bernie with his shirt off. I mean, come on, it's classic. Come on now. Let's go. Bernie Sanders is going to ask some very simple questions as they tell him the new budget for the Pentagon and how we're all going to war with China. And he says, so we're going to war with China, but our corporations can't wait to pack up and leave there. Could you just describe to me how this works? Anyway, listen up. You'll love it. I'm sure you've seen it before.
The truth is, everybody supports the Department of Defense. We all support the men and women in the armed forces. But as I mentioned earlier, we are now spending more than the next 12 countries combined in defense. Against my vote, Congress just voted another $165 billion to go to the military. So here's the question. Who's our enemy? Who are we spending? We know that there are threats out there. All right, we're all aware of terrorism. But I think the amount of money that we're spending fighting ISIS, for example, is relatively small. Who are we preparing to go to war against or defend ourselves from?
Senator, the Secretary of Defense outlined in the National Defense Strategy the challenges that we face. Part of the emphasis in the strategy was the shift from a focus on terrorism to great power competition, with a particular emphasis on the long-term challenges of China and Russia. It refers to both of those as opportunities for...
I'm cutting in. What problems? You created them. Stop selling them the fucking AI chips. Stop selling them the CNC machines. Stop selling the high-end laser lathe machines. Stop selling, tell Germany to stop and Japan to stop until they pull their heads in. Stop selling them. Stop selling them Global Foundry chips for their Lancet drones. Stop fucking selling them stuff. What's this great power competition bullshit? No, there's no great power competition. One fucking power. America. 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 Oh God, I wish I had that on my Elgato Steam Deck. All I've got is. Look
at these hands. These are workers' hands.
Oh yes, Bernie. What is this great power competition bullshit? Who thought that up on the board of Lockheed and the Pentagon with Heinz fucking Kissinger and the City of London and State Street and Vanguard and fucking BlackRock? What fucking horseshit to keep us busy under the damn War Powers Act. What a crock of absolute stinking, piling, filthy, steaming shit.
Peaceful competition, deterrence, and then the ability to prevail in a conflict should we have to.
There's never going to be a conflict. Stop giving them stuff.
The strategy is both a classified and unclassified option, but it lays out and goes through the challenges that we face.
So we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars defending ourselves from China, while major corporation after major corporation is shutting down in the United States of America and moving to China. Anything incongruous about that?
So I think
These are Bernie Sanders' millionaire hands. Was never even held a hammer. Thank you, Bernie, for telling us the obvious question. Hello?
The White House and the President and others have talked about the competition expanding beyond defense. My expertise is more in the defense side.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, what's the next bit? Who controls the CBDC? No, we've already done that. The Gaza Pier fiasco. Just with regards to the Gaza Pier, a big chunk of it's floated onto the shore. I'm pretty sure it's a bit of an act while Hamas gets killed. As you've seen, the Israeli Defense Forces just wiping them out left and right. And when that job is done, suddenly the pier will work. That is my opinion. Before we move on to the Hoofdstuden and the nobles of Europe to understand who's running the International Criminal Court in The Hague, who ran the slave trade out of Amsterdam and other such things, who's got their hands on ASML and all the rest. Let's just quickly go into Intel Corporation. As you know, 2018, they were found to be backdoored, and the rest is history. It's not come out yet, but it will. Intel is going to be broken up. It's going broke. Not broke. It still owns a huge chunk of the market to do with the corporate sector, to do with, still has the server market at around 60%, but it's losing rapidly to AMD. AMD will dominate that sector within 2 to 3 years completely, without question. It's just effing up one thing after another. What they will probably do is it will not go broke, but it will be broken up, and they'll have the fab section. So they will build chips. They probably won't design them. Then they might have a GPU section, or maybe they'll have a smaller chip section, but it stays as a high end over. It's going to Microsoft, Apple, and Qualcomm building system on a chips is a big deal right now. So exactly how it will unfold, we don't know, but let's listen to Moore's Law is Dead, where I steal an awful lot of info off. He's a pretentious little prick, and he laughed at me when I said the back doors and Intel. Well, he's going to eat those words, but he's talking to a defense contractor, and he'll have some interesting points to say just for a few minutes.
Talk about this in preparing for this podcast that I think you basically said like a decade ago, it was all Intel, everything pretty much, and when you say that, it's like, well, yeah, like servers, laptops, workstations, like workstation laptops, like desktops, like literally up and down the stack. And that once like Zen 2 rolled around, something happened where just all workstations were Threadripper or something, right? Like it just happened overnight. But still, because HP and Dell and like Lenovo were using Xeon for their servers, still most servers were Intel, right? And now that's even starting to shift.
Right. And so the shift in US government acquisition is largely mirroring what's happening just in the general consumer market as well.
And I don't think anyone knows that. I'm so glad you came on to say that, because I think people just like think of like whatever the analogy would be to like the black helicopters magically being everywhere, and like somehow the U.S. government has these magic servers with Intel. It's like, no, they're buying from Lenovo, man. And
that's not to say that there might be some.
Here he says most of the stuff they use in the Defense Department is standard chips. I don't believe that. I do think they get Intel Management Engine disabled for the NSA and other things, but the vast majority, no, like Boeing and Pentagon, front end, all that sort of stuff, it's all Intel, and it's also Windows, apart from the deep back end, which is usually Apache, a version of Linux, Unix.
Specific program that has very specific hardware needs. But again, and they might be doing something, custom contracts, doing things with certain manufacturers. But by and large, the bulk of computing need for the government is just the commodity stuff that you and I use every day.
So from what I'm hearing, if Dell switches to mostly AMD, that's the U.S. government basically, right?
Yeah, that's more or less the way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, I don't know why you would, but like, do you know like how much would you typically see HP versus Dell versus Lenovo? Off the top of my head, my gut says it's mostly Dell.
In my experience, I've mostly dealt with HP systems when I was in the government.
Okay. Like laptops or servers as well?
Both. It was almost equally. You did have some choice. What happens is the government bulk negotiates these huge contracts with these GSA vendors. And as a researcher or anyone in the government, there's almost like this Amazon website. It's like a GSA website.
Yeah.
You go look up what part you want. It shows you what contracts you can buy from. And there's kind of just a list of parts this year that you can buy. So, for example, if I needed like a workstation laptop, I would jump on GSA, go to the 2024 bulk buy contract, and this is the workstation laptop for the year. It's the HP insert model name here, or the Dell insert model name here. And then you have a little bit of option to customize it. Like, okay, it's got more processor options, or I want more RAM, or, I want it to ship with a dock.
And this was some bulk negotiation ahead of time where some purchaser in the U.S. government said, we imagine our employees will need this many workstations, this many things, and they're stockpiled or allotted, right?
Mm-hmm. And because there are so many regulations around how to purchase things in the government,
right?
It has to be, you have to be providing equal opportunity to vendors. You have to sometimes prefer certain vendors, whether it's like, this company has, is minority owned, or it's a woman owned company, or, there's all these incentives in the government that they provide companies to operate with them, that they become a preferred buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to incentivize you buying a disadvantaged seller.
Like a humble disadvantaged, a humble disadvantaged Middle East country, stuff like that. Let's just give you a taste of some of the procurement programs and why that Intel thing was so important and is still unraveling. I'm very pleased and very proud to have been part of a small group of people who just got together with their common knowledge, put 2 and 2 together and got 4. It will come out. But what did Tom from Moore's Law is dead? Look, if you ever, it might seem boring. I'm fascinated by technology. I love listening to that stuff. I think his relatives are all in the game, and he has a lot of inside information. He's like a wholesaler. I get a lot of interesting info. But here's what he said to me in a live stream. I'm going to make you eat these words, Tom.
Brendan O'Connell asked about an Intel backdoor. I would say Intel doesn't want a backdoor in their processors. And the fact that you have so many people working at Intel would suggest that they won't easily have one because someone would leak that. Intel can't keep... Here's what people need to understand about conspiracy theories. The more people you have as part of a conspiracy, the more it doesn't make sense if you think it was secret, right? Intel's a company of 120,000 people. So... how are you keeping that secret, dude?
How are you keeping that secret, dude?
They couldn't keep Meteor Lake secret. I leaked it 2 years ago.
Oh my goodness. How could they keep a backdoor secret? I don't know, Tom. Like there's vast multi-billion-dollar Defense Department operations that have been running now for 10 years looking for backdoors in hardware. Do you know why, Tom? Everyone's making their own chips now these days. Have you noticed? Tom, you're going to eat those fucking words. And I will be making sure when it all comes out and you report on the backdoor and some problems with these chips and national security issues, because you're getting on more and more national security people, aren't you? Guess what, Tom? I will be raising this up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Hoofdjuden. We're going to talk about the nobles of Europe, those 13 families. It's the black nobility. What about the green nobility? You racist. What about the white nobility? It's the black nobility. They're fucking Jews, all right? We can debate what a Jew is. So what's a Jew to me? A Jew has had his foreskin lopped off. He's been bar mitzvahed and she at 12, 13. She's read from her Mosaic Law, Old Testament, with her grandma and his grandma. And he's trying to marry a buxom, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Catholic to annoy his Jewish mother. And he hates everyone in his family. And he goes to synagogue twice a year. And he be as annoying as possible. That is a Jew to me. All right. Then you have the Rabbinic Pharisaic Judaism nut jobs, the Sephardic Jews, Khazarian Jews, they're all the fucking same. They're all nutcases. Talmud, Shulchan Aruch, all that stuff. Children of hell, sons of their father, the devil. However, in Europe, these Jews, these noble Jews are all Masons. They're high-level Luciferian rationalists, meaning they are deeply involved in the occult to a degree, but the ultimate ones are not. They read Carl Jung. They're not into the occult. They consider it a joke. They're intellectuals first and foremost, studying history. They are gentlemen, they are ladies, and they read their fucking Carl Jung. They are Masonic but they may not even go, listen, here's the rub you need to know. Masonic, the networks, the controls, that's for the profane, that's for the morons. And they have different levels. They have ones focusing on sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and they have ones focusing on the more, the light, and you're a nicer one. Then they have the scumbag pedophiles. But really, the elite of the elite, the people like the Kissingers and so on, they're intellectuals. Kissinger's never attended a fucking lodge meeting in his life. He's never taken an oath. He's above forms, all right? These are the monastics. These are the monastics of this world, of the rulers, the young princelings, they don't attend a fucking lodge. That's for the morons. When you are one of them, you are just one of them, and you are brought into the family. And I've been stalked for the last 25 fucking years by these people. All right, you think they're evil. No, they want you to come across, which will then justify their behavior. They are Luciferian. Lucifer was God's favorite angel. Lucifer loved God. Lucifer was an angel of light. Then God said, I want you to go down and serve man. And he went, serve the fucking humans. Like, fuck, Lord, I love you, but that's scum. And he went, well, I'm sending you down there anyway. And now he walks amongst us. And now he hates humans. And I promise you, they love it. When you're brave and you get in their face, they fucking love it. They go, yes, that's what we want. And they want you to justify their viewpoint by coming to them willingly and joining the emperor. Join with us, Brendan. Look at these fucking slaves. You've proved it. Look what you've sacrificed, Brendan. And they don't even fucking care. Look at them. They can't even hand out a flyer, for crying out loud. You've seen that interview with Kissinger when he was 29. Getting interviewed by, he'd done his PhD, and he was interviewed by Mike Wallace, and he goes, no, forget 19th century Marxism. Freedom is the new revolution. He was a true believer. And then he's gone, you know what? These people are born slaves. They have no interest in stuff. They just want to eat shit, fuck, and blah, blah, blah. Look for the archetype of that noble we're looking at. That's Kissinger, is a good example. When's the last time BB went to freaking synagogue, for crying out loud? These people read Carl Gustav Jung. These are intellectuals. Let's read about some of them. Read about the history. Francisco Lopez Sassou. Francisco Lopez Sassou, second Baron de 1657 to 1710, was a banker and financier of the Dutch Republic. How interesting. He was also known within the Sephardic Jewish community as Abraham Israel Sassou. After being expelled from the Iberian Peninsula, most of the Sephardic Jews settled in trading cities such as London and Antwerp. By the 16th century, during the Dutch Golden Age, when they got ASML machines and were building $180 million silicon etching, I put that in, they were arriving in Amsterdam and The Hague, just starting the International Criminal Court. The Lopez Sassous were a wealthy old Sephardic family of Moranos, or Jews who had been forced to convert to Christianity under pressure from the Portuguese Inquisition. Good old-fashioned, ladies and gentlemen, a good old-fashioned Catholic conversion. Ah, the good old days. We've got to bring that back, definitely, when I reform the church. Vatican fucking III. Forced to convert to Christianity under pressure from the Portuguese Inquisition. But once in Amsterdam, they openly returned to their true religion, Judaism, or more specifically, Rabbinic Pharisaic Judaism. Sassou was born in Amsterdam, the eldest son, the merchant banker Antonio Lopez Sassou. They're all through Mexico now, let me tell you. Also known as Isaac Israel Sassou by his marriage in 1654 to Rachel Violenta de Pinto, a member of another rich old Sephardic family. These are the Jews we're talking about, baby. These are the black nobility. These are the 13 families of Europe. His father, who had himself been born in Bordeaux, was one of the richest and most famous Portuguese Jewish merchants in the Amsterdam of his day. He lived at Jordanstraat and Gothenburg, trading on Malaga and Hamburg. The date of Francisco's birth, probably between blah, 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 blah. He had 4 sisters, blah, 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 blah. The family retained a sense of belonging to Spain. Oh, yeah, someone was mentioned by the King of Spain, the guy who's dealing all the drug money here where I am, and I've found out all about. I don't know if I really wanted bothered, but, I've got a death wish. I was thinking of committing suicide. I thought, why not do it in a blaze of glory? To Spain on the 3rd of January, 1676, Sassou's father received from Charles II of Spain the title of Baron de Vernes de la Grace in recognition of his diplomatic services. The title was drawn from a seigneur owned by Sassou in the Duchy of Brabant named blah, blah, blah. He also had a good relationship with the stadtholders, and the banking house of Sassou often supported them financially. Sassou joined his father's banking business. He continued a successful banking career after the death of his father in 1685, when he inherited half of his father's considerable fortune, much of which was in the form of shares in the Dutch East India Company, Chamber of Middelburg. In 1682, Sassou married, firstly, Judith Francisco Teixeira at Hamburg. Do you get it? Do you fucking get it? Jews, Jews, Jews. We can debate whether they're Jews or what we think, or they're fucking Jews. They identify as Jews. And at the elite levels, they are Masonic, but they're above that. They are Luciferian, scientific rationalists. And we must cull the herd, manage the herd. Join us, Brendan. As the Bible says, the lost members of the tribe, your DNA will resonate to the Nephilim, the ancient alien DNA. This is what they believe. And you will resonate and you will come to us and you will join us. Beloved Brendan, we need a manager. You're a good voice. You have an Australian accent. You could work for us. Like fuck. But maybe that's an act. And then they sneak me in. Or maybe stop, disappear up your own ass and do what? Decentralize the power, bring these people down and get it back to the people. These are workers' hands. Let's have some communism without the communists. Let's have a fair and equitable and reasonable society where if you work hard, man, you can be a billionaire. But you know what? You're going to have to pay a little bit of tax, Koch brothers. Just a little bit. You'll still be filthy rich and have a private plane. Work hard. But the days of these old 13 fucking families propping up some dickhead like Elon Musk, puffing them up and giving them the black credit card are over. America. Free the slaves. She was the daughter of banker Manuel, otherwise Isaac Textier, who after Sassu's father in De Pinto was the third most important Portuguese Jewish merchant banker in Northern Europe. Are you getting it? By his marriage to Beatrix Nunes Henriquez in an age of strategic marriages. Intermarrying, right. The union can be seen as intended to raise capital within a narrow circle. But this design was thwarted when Judith died childless in 1689. A notable instance of the support of the House of Sassoon to the Dutch stadtholders in the loan of 2 million guilders, which Sassoon made to William of Orange in 1688 in support of his invasion of England to claim the throne of King James II. The story is told that William asked Sassoon what he wanted as collateral for the millions, to which Sassoon replied, quote, "If thou art fallacious, I know thou wilt return to me. Art thou infallacious, I agree to have lost them. However, this may be, I have no idea what that means." Sassoon was responsible for a number of elements of the invasion, and through his father-in-law in Hamburg, he was able to, that would be the, what's that of Hamburg? He was the Hanseatic League. He was able to make speedy arrangements for the transport of Swedish and Pomeranian troops provided in November 1688 by Charles XI of Sweden to assist William. Oh, that would be like the Swedish royalty, which are deep in bed with King Charles. The coffer in which William repaid the loan to Sassoon is today on display in the Willett, blah, 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 blah. Nobles, the Hofjuden. Sassoon died in The Hague on 22nd. Now, who are these people? Where are their descendants? What are their names now? John Smith? Harry Ferguson over in Detroit? That's what's so interesting. Oh, look, everyone. The Makota family is a leading Anglo-Jewish family that traces its ancestry to the Sephardic Jewish communities of Spain and Portugal prior to... These are the ones that were running the slave trade and the drug trade and everything else. The family's forebears initially sought refuge in Amsterdam and Venice before immigrating to England in the 1650s. Yeah, the Jews of Scotland. They were among the first 12 Jewish families admitted by Cromwell in London in 1671. Moses Makota established the firm that became Makota and Goldschmidt. For 300 years, it was the world's leading bullion broker. Although the family sold their stake in the company in the late 20th century and exited the bullion business, the family continues its tradition of business and charity. The family became known for philanthropy, leadership and sponsorship of arts and letters, particularly in the United Kingdom. Long involved in finance and the law, they are considered to be one of the principal families in the cousinhood of senior Anglo-Jewish families, the de facto Anglo-Jewish aristocracy. Hello, Jews. The family features prominently in the Anglo-Jewish cousinhood, the aristocracy of related, socially prominent Jewish families. That includes the Rothschilds, the Goldsmiths, like Jimmy Goldsmith, it's Lady Di's father, the Montagues, the Montefiore's, they own most of Australia, and the Samuels. Prominent people with the surname Mokata include. Now, that does not mean every single person is some devilish Jew out to need the blood of an unbaptized baby, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. But you just need to understand, they're all fucking Jews, all right? They identify as Jewish. They may even have a Christian Bible. Rothschild has a Christian Bible, and I believe he believes in Jesus. He's a fucking Jungian. And he believes you must be managed. And after the fucking behavior of the retards in the last 20 years, you can see why. You'll fall for fucking anything. Not you, of course, my faithful followers. You're all going, yes, Brendan, I have heard of this. Do you have anything new for us? But you get this, right? Those families you keep talking about. It's the Jesuit. It's the black nobility. It's more complicated. No, it's the fucking Jews. Just stop it. I want an intellectual discussion on this issue because these are workers' hands. These are alt media hands clicking the buttons, putting up the cheap Chinese light. All right? I want an intellectual discussion. That's all I want. To say there is a problem. And if people want to live under some sort of royalty, Jewish or not, good luck to you. You go and do that. But not fucking America, motherfuckers. Get the fuck out. I will not be a fucking slave. I will live as a free man. He came to free the fucking slaves. And I will take part in my life. I will take part in my community. I will be in my family. I'll be a mini dictator in my family. And as we move out of the family, we'll move out into democracy and we'll go and we'll join the school boards and the precinct districts and we will be involved and we will understand that politics is a matter of life and death and we'll educate the people, black, white, green or fucking red. We don't care your gender or your fucking sexual orientation. Just be a good, decent, reasonable person. Mind your fucking business. Enjoy the sunset. Watch the waves break, and as problems arise, we as a community will have a community discussion. It's pretty fucking simple. Get this bullshit, get this Jewish stuff, get this Jewish shit, get this Jewish power issue, the political Zionist movement. Let's get it out of the gutter of the white nationalist neo-Nazi bullshit and let's put it into the mainstream where we can have adult discussions and sort it out. And just move the fuck on. Messiah comes when we all become sad, pathetic creatures in a smart city of some description, when our lives become too easy and we start all breaking down into psychosis and mass mental illness and depression and suicide, as we attend our Joe Rogan, ayahuasca, mushroom, LSD trips to try and get as one with the fucking universe. As everyone fucks up, we will trim our wicks and we will await Messiah. We'll just get on with it. We'll watch the sunsets. I'll see Rabbi Shlomo and I'll wave. We'll make a joke. I'll make a Jew joke. He'll make a Catholic joke. They'll see my Muslim friends over there. We'll see the wasps over there. Boo, the wasps will go. And you know what? We'll have a barbecue and we'll just mind our fucking business and watch the sunset. How about that? Margaritas are on me. How easy could it be? Let's keep going. Ooh, we're getting juicy here. Eve Frank, or Eva Frank, 1754 to 1816, born Rachel Frank in Nikopol, Ottoman Empire, now Bulgaria. Bulgaria's, I got to get to Europe, man. I got to see some culture. Was a mystic cult leader and the only woman to have been declared a Jewish messiah. I had no idea who this was. Thank you, my little Jason friend over there in evil Switzerland. According to historian Jerry Rabau, she was the daughter of Jakob Frank, the claimant of the position of Jewish Messiah in the 18th century, and allegedly Sophie Ascania Catherine the Great. Eva Frank received the name of Eve in 1760 upon the conversion of her family to Catholicism, a good whipping. For much of her life, now you know why the Catholic Church completely infiltrated, work it out. She accompanied her father during his travels, and after the death of her mother in 1770, the then 16-year-old Eve was declared to be the incarnation of the Shekinah, the female aspect of God. Wisdom, she sits by the gates, but not your fucking Shekinah, let me tell you. As well as the reincarnation of the Virgin Mary, and thus became the object of a devotional subcult, herself near the Catholic Marian shrine of Setvaria, with some followers keeping small statues of her in their homes. According to historian Jerry Rabau, she was the only woman who had been declared a Jewish Messiah. Her father Jacob spread the rumor that Eve, who was often called Eva Romania at that point, was an illegitimate child of Catherine the Great of Russia. Father and daughter repeatedly traveled to Vienna and succeeded in gaining the favor of the court. Upon the death of her father in 1791, Eve became the holy mistress and leader of the cult. Eve Frank and her two younger brothers, Josef and Orokos, assumed responsibility for the direction of the court. Many people continued to go up to Ofban, and the believers called it. In the 1800s, the Franks sent red letters and red ink to hundreds of Jewish communities encouraging conversion to Frankism. However, the Frank siblings had neither the stature nor the strength of personality required to keep the cult going, and as time went on, the number of pilgrims and the supply of money diminished drastically, while Eve continued to live her accustomed luxury. This is great. She finally became heavily indebted to 3 million gulden in 1817. It was alleged that she died in poverty in 1816, although she is believed to have escaped to Poland. and continued to lead the community after the dismantling of the Frankish court and arrest order from the Duke of Hesse. Nonetheless, her followers continued to exist well into the middle of the 19th century. Among these were the parents of Louis Brandeis, the U.S. Supreme Court Justice. How interesting. Here's another German noble who was called the Baron of Offenbach. His followers in Central and Eastern Europe worshipped him as the Messiah, believed in his immortality. When he nevertheless died, not good, the admirers continued to run for years at the grave of the Holy Lord in Offenbach. In today's Williamplatz, and Jews still know the name of Jakob Frank around the world. Indeed they do. There he is. In 1788 he came to the city for 3 million guilders. Prince Wolfgang Ernst had rented his castle on the Main, which the princely family no longer lived in. Frank and his entourage, those Sabbatean Frankists, they had waited for the renovation of the castle, and at that time the Offenbachers were whispering that these strange people were enjoying themselves with lurid orgies. Oh, Lord have mercy. Who could walk, stood on the streets when Frank moved in with his bodyguard dressed up like an oriental potential and accompanied by his picturesque caretaker Eva, who often called herself Eva Romania. She was told was a natural daughter of the Russian, blah, blah, blah. You know that one. Here we have the visionary leader of Russia was a Freemason and combating injustice and initiated a vast plan of public education for his citizens. This is why you will meet Masons who will look at you and say, Brandon, leave us alone. We are not these evil people. Dickhead, you're the nice Masons, like the nice Jews. It's the people above you that are the worry. Because if you didn't fucking notice, you're not like Alexander I or the great George Washington. All the rest of them who wrote that great Emancipation, if you want to go, they believed the first Mason was who? Jesus. He said, I've come to free the slaves. He took a whip of cords to the elites who didn't give a shit about the peasants. They see themselves in the same mold. That's how they get nice people in, good people in. Then they compromise. Then they film them. Then they corrupt them. And on it goes. There is no place for secret societies. Sorry, none. I have spoken openly in the temple and on the internet and in secret. I have said nothing. I understand the difference. I know many of you are great people and are very upset, particularly the ones in America where every man and his dog's in a lodge, but it has to stop now. You must speak openly in the temple and in secret say nothing. You cannot take a secret oath over and above public oaths of office. You can have a Masonic lodge all you like. You can do your sacred stuff and mathematics or whatever you want to do. That's good for you. I don't care. But we have to put up that you cannot enter public office and have a secret oath, secret handshake, and a secret deal between you and your friends. You can't do it. It's not good for society. It's just not good. So what you need is, instead of these hubs of power and these little secret societies, which is like an IV cannula into the bloodstream of the body politic. If you have an IV cannula, it is very dangerous. You can kill someone instantly, the body politic instantly. Vice versa, if the body politic is sick, if you have a cannula, a Masonic lodge who is ostensibly good, you can heal the body politic very quickly with that too. The best thing to have no IV cannula and the body politic is immunized by having an informed, engaged citizenry. Don't keep them in fucking ignorance, education, popular culture, and thinking human beings, and reward effort. And all those simple good things your mother told you all about. Take the garbage out, get $2, buy a bag of lollies. Pretty simple stuff. There you go. There's Alexander I. There are good Jews. We got good Jews. We're good Masons. Got lots of different good people. But at the end of the day, without open, transparent government and an open, transparent public life, we're fucking doomed. We're nearly finished. The Spanish Benveniste family, I've never heard of these people, it's quite interesting, is an old, noble, wealthy and scholarly Jewish family of Narbonne, France and northern Spain, established in the 11th century. The family was present in the 11th and 15th centuries and Hackmai province, France, Barcelona, Aragon and Castile. Family members received honorary titles from the authorities and were members of the administration of the kingdoms of Aragon and Castile. They were the blah, 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 blah. Go right on into it. Lots of all this history. These are the families they talk about. President Herzog praises exemplary British Jewish community at welcome breakfast. He met community leaders at a London event on one of his first trips abroad as president. This is from November 23rd, 2021. Israeli President Yitzhak Herzog has paid tribute to the British Jewish community and promised to make relations between diaspora Jews and Israel a priority for his administrations. At a community breakfast event in London, the new Israeli president met representatives from a number of UK Jewish organisations, including the Board of Deputies, the Union of Jewish blah blah blah, and the UJS. The event was attended by Israeli Ambassador to the UK, Tipsy Hofner, Executive Director of the Jewish Agency, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. In a short speech, President Herzog spoke of his deep affinity for the UK and even joked that when his father met the Queen, they both discussed being direct descendants of King David. He also described the British Jewish community as being, quote, at the forefront of Jewish life. Well, well, well. Because they got to keep the little deal they've had going for quite some time. Oh, I say, the Queen has launched lighting of beacons across the UK.
Thank you, Bert. Lucy, we are going to take our viewers to Windsor, where the Queen is coming out with
What's
me.
she going to light up here?
Correspondent Rhiannon Mills, and she's come from the Monarch's door. Is that right?
Sovereign's entrance, yes.
The Sovereign's
and
entrance.
it's clear that there was one final duty of the day that the Queen did not want to delegate.
What have we got here? Nice DNA spiral. Lovely, lovely. What else have we got here? Oh, they've really expended on the lights. Oh, it's a Kabbalah tree. It looks like a big menorah almost. Oh, it's a lovely Kabbalah tree. Beautiful. Hermoso, dear. Hermoso. Oh, thank you, Queen. I mean, look, give idiot. Will you give King William make King William the king, please? Nobody likes Prince Charles. Let him do his Scorpio Machiavelli trip. Get him and lovely Kate. If you're going to have the royals, let them do it, and they can pretend to be Jews. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a conclusion. It's late. It is, what wasn't it, 1:37 a.m. Yeah, I tried getting to bed, but let's head off to the office, shall we? Much better. Whee! Oh God, it's Stream Deck. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk briefly. This is the way the world works. There's a big bunch of people who think they're Jews and they're related to ancient alien life forms. I'm sorry, they really do. They're running technology. They run and own all the businesses. They set up their little princelings, and they set up this corporation to fight in strategic competition. All right, they've already done a deal with China and Russia. Don't get me wrong, there's a war on, and Putin's been slapped around by the Imperium. He's not liking it. Now they've told him to settle down. They're going to cull off a good portion of his male population and a good portion of the Ukrainian alpha males who want to fight. They'll be culled off. They probably haven't bred yet. Then all the coders and the cowards, well, admittedly, some of them I understand, particularly from Ukraine, they left because they didn't know if the Americans were going to give them what they needed. I mean, you're going to risk your life for nothing, but you are little stinking cowards. But anyway, I hope there's enough of the alpha males left to breed, but they're going to bring in those coders and you'll have a nice, pacified, demoralized population. You can fill it full of Chabad Lubavitch lunatics who they definitely want out of Israel. They want only Jungians and gentlemen. Thank you very much. We need to understand this big picture. This strategic competition is all bullshit. There's only one competition. America rules and cracks your skull. You get rewards. You have an open government. You have freedom of information. You have a popular culture that engages the citizenry. And that means you're free. You can be free to be a Wahhabist, but you can't force other people to be a Wahhabist. It's the freedom to be or not to be. That is the question. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't open a donut shop. You can't be a Wahhabist. You can't even be an Orthodox Jew. You must be free. And if consenting adults wish to engage in those activities, they are free to do so. But if those then consenting adults wish to try and enter into politics and power, no, you fucking can't. The first question will be, do you owe any allegiance to a foreign country or an entity belonging to a foreign country or so on and so forth? Do you have any secret oaths? This should be part of the oath process. All of it. No more secret societies. Open, honest government with an involved citizenry who are educated. They go to school to be educated and they learn about psychological warfare, know thyself. They learn their natal chart, their own archetypal personality structure. They ask big questions in the schools. Know thyself. What are you here for? You're born in a specific historical time, in a specific historical setting. What are you here for? Maybe it's to drink a few pints, raise a couple of kids and be a nice person. Or maybe you're meant to change the world. All right, but enough of the puffing up these fake princelings with the same people who own the fucking media, who puffed up fucking Elon Musk, a congenital idiot, the Wall Street Journal. You're all involved. All this fucking drug money laundering that they put up. They use all this money and all this other crap to puff up their little princelings. Put that one the head of that. The smart one has to go. He goes to NVIDIA because he's smart and that's important for the AI stuff. And they just give him a little allocation and they play off like you saw with the stuff about Xerox having to being told to hand over all that stuff to Apple. All right, Steve Jobs was groomed. Steve Jobs was talent spotted. And then they went and gave him the money, him and Wozniak. And Wozniak maintained his humor and didn't want to be a part of it. He hated it. Then the rumors started about him and kids. I don't like that. I don't like rumors. Either he's into that stuff or he's not. And I've only seen a couple of rumors. I don't like it. Not my Steve, was. But anyway, you can see how it works. And that's the way the world works. They talent spot and they pick them up. Then they puff them up. They may compromise them or they may be true believers. But they love it when you agree with them. Humans are stupid, dumbass, pains in the ass. They're only concerned with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, voiding their bowels, fucking, and screwing around on the wife. And that's it. So let's just treat them like cattle and cull them off. We'll do it. We'll sterilize them with a vaccine. It will be done benevolently and kindly by their betters. The commoners will be peasants on the commons. They will be part of the commonwealth, and they will be a paternalistic patriarchy which will look after them. Put them out of their misery like a dog when need be. They will be loved. They will be cared for. All right? But you know what? I want to be fucking free. And I would not submit to you fucking inbred pieces of shit. Is that clear? And I don't care where you're from. I don't care if you're a Jew or anything else. Do you value freedom? He came to free the slaves. And I would not be submit to a bunch of inbred Eurofags who believe they popped out of a certain vagina in a certain historical setting, and therefore rich mummy and daddy mean they fucking rule me. Like fuck, I'll kill 50 of you before that happens. Try releasing COVID-2 and see what happens. You'll get a bunch of SOCOM and JSOC up your ass. The only trouble is you might enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope we all learned something, and we'll talk again very, very soon. F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable, the implausible, often the impossible, come true."
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and it's the only thing that it's all about, nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom.